It'll be Pipkin, touchdown. Pipkin up to the line, straight ahead. It's an Alouette touchdown. His second of the game. It's an Alouette win. And the 6-game losing streak is over.
Looking for number 13 is Franklin. He has it easy. Walks into the end zone. Franklin is one quarterback sneak away. And as Franklin goes into the end zone, and he joins Doug Flutie. The losing streak in Toronto is over.
The Ottawa Red Blacks showed us anything on Saturday. Weather will not hold down great offenses. It will not hold down great mascots either. It is rainy and cold in Montreal for the Alouettes and Argos on a Sunday afternoon.
All right, there he is, Johnny Manziel. It's time, Johnny. It's time to get your first win as a CFL starting quarterback. You have 2 more opportunities, but I can see it happening today. It won't be easy, but Johnny Manziel is long overdue.
Shout out to Corinth High School with this young man, James Franklin, played in Dallas, Texas. Boy, he's figuring out the CFL game. I think there's a lot more left in the tank for this young man.
John Bowman, the Alouettes' all-time leading sacker, 8th in CFL history. This is his last game at Montreal Stadium in front of the home fans. Hope he goes out there, gets some sacks, and really enjoys his day.
It is the CFL on TSN. It is a Sunday afternoon. Halloween week is upon us. I am Rod Smith, disguised as Derek Taylor. This is a very fine costume. Alongside Davis Sanchez, Matt Dunnigan, and Milt Stiegels, we get ready for the Alouettes and the Argos. And Davis, John Bowman, a guy who, a couple years ago thought maybe he's done, maybe he's out. He's been productive, and he continues to be productive even in year 13.
I talked to 2 of my former teammates this morning, John Bowman and Chip Cox. Wish them well, and congratulations on great careers. Enjoy their final day playing at Montreal Stadium. Chip Cox told me, I'm not done. I'm still playing at a high level. That's one side of it, and he has played well, and that's why Chip is Chip. John Bowman, he's going to enjoy this day. He said, I'm not going to take it too serious. I'm going to have fun. Congratulations, John Bowman, on a great career. All-time sack leader for the Alouettes.
You know, Davis, you can throw in Steph Logan. You can throw in Luc Bourgeois-Jordan in there as well, the center for the Owls. A lot of guys could be playing the last game in the Montreal.
Those guys
a lot of respect.
Huh?
No, a lot of respect for these guys. You never know. The changes in the air.
Wait a minute.
Changes in the air. No.
Father Tom is undefeated.
Yeah, you never know, right? When the Grim Reaper comes knocking.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Milt, what do you want more, Manziel's first win or James Franklin gets the touchdown rushing record for quarterbacks?
I want Deron Carter to have a big game because I know you love him.
Yes.
I want Deron Carter to have a big game. Manziel. It's time for Manziel.
I want
time.
It is Manziel's
This is
time.
Davis's tie, actually.
Coming up.
This is Davis's tie. Yeah.
Still don't look as good as me.
It's the razzle-dazzle. Manziel throwing. This is going to work out. It's a touchdown. Johnny Manziel, and it's a touchdown. This could be 14. Franklin goes into the end zone, and he joins Doug Flutie.
Sheena Berleni of Edmonton, Alberta. You can win groceries for a year if a kickoff is returned for a touchdown in today's game, thanks to the Safeway Sobeys $1 Million Touchdown to Win promotion. If a second kickoff is returned for a touchdown, you could also win $1 million. Good luck, Sheena. I love this. Rod Smith calling the game alongside Dwayne Ford. Let's go to Montreal.
Thank you very much, DT. A cold, wet Sunday afternoon in Montreal. The Hill on McGill sees the Alouettes playing their final home game of 2018 and their second last of the season. It's the rematch, the rubber match against the Toronto Argonauts, who beat the Owls with a last-minute TD drive last week.
Yeah, the Toronto Argonauts led in that game, as they will be today, by quarterback James Franklin, getting a second chance at the starting job. You heard the boys talk about it in the pregame, looking to become the CFL's all-time single-season rushing touchdown leader among quarterbacks. For Johnny Manziel, the improvement continues, and that's the big thing on his mind, but he is still looking for win number 1 as a Canadian Football League quarterback.
And there's Mike Sherman in his first year, and a difficult year as head coach of the Alouettes. His first experience with the CFL and a 3-13 record, and looking ahead to see if he can close it out with a couple of wins. Mark Trestman, fondly remembered here in Montreal, of course, for his 5 years coaching the Alouettes. couple of Grey Cup champions. They never had a losing record in Montreal in those 5 years. He's been going through his first losing season with the Argos after a 9-9 year in 2017 when they won the Grey Cup. The Argos won the toss. They have deferred, and the Alouettes will receive. The veteran Stephen Logan is back for the kickoff to get this one underway as we conclude week 20 of 21. Just 1 week in the regular season left. These two teams out of the playoff picture. A lot has been decided this weekend. And it is newcomer Drew Brown to the CFL out of Nebraska to get this game started from the Argo 35, heading down Logan's way at the 10. Steph Logan up across the 25 and gets to the 30 before he is taken down by a group that includes Jeff Knox Jr.
Well, Johnny Manziel looks to go to work. He has been even in terms of touchdowns and interceptions since the 4 interception performance in his first start as an Alouette. It's been a grind for Johnny Manziel as he searches for that elusive first win.
It has been a grind. This is start number 7. Yeah, as mentioned, still no wins as a CFL quarterback. Over 1,000 yards passing. And looked off to the left, throws back to the right, and he finds George Johnson. That completion to get it up to the 35 and a gain of 5 for Montreal.
We'll take a look at the Alouettes offense. Eugene Lewis, injury to BJ Cunningham. Lewis last week surpassed him to become the Alouettes' leading receiver this season. Christian Matt, the only starter on that offensive line who started in week 1.
Remarkable to think of all the change the Alouettes have gone through from the start of the season to this point now in week 20. 2nd and 5. Manziel with time over the middle, and it falls incomplete, and just like that, 2 and out for Montreal. Boris Beatty will be coming on to punt it away.
Well, maybe a missed opportunity there for Manziel and the Alouettes. You're going to see Ernest Jackson come out of the slot and work his way across the field. He had a step on his man. Manziel's eyes didn't take him in that direction.
Beatty inside his 25.
Come on, Herb, let's go.
Good punt away. Taken by Mario Alford. Reinserted to that Argo lineup after a punt of 46 yards, and not much for Alford on that return back at the Toronto 25, where James Franklin will come on for his first drive of the day.
Franklin, a strong outing last week against these Alouettes, leading the Argonauts to victory. And you know, one of the things that stood out to me in that game, he threw a pick 6 in that ball game that you thought maybe with a guy who's had a bit of a tough season that might impact him. But I thought Franklin showed great resiliency, bounced back with a strong drive right after that en route to the win.
It's Brandon Burks on the carry. He's been getting a lot of work since the injury to James Wilder Jr.
Looking at the Argonauts offense here today, many eyes will be on Durant Carter as he makes his return to Montreal. The offensive line, Ryan Bombin, twice traded by the Owls, including earlier this season, to the Argonauts.
Burks again. Al's defense doing a good job on that on 2nd and short, and looks like a 2 and out for the Argos as well.
Alouette defense certainly recognizing after last week they'll have to pay extra attention to Brandon Burks. Explosive back, great acceleration. They want to get hands on him as close to the line of scrimmage as they can.
Into punt is Ronnie Pepper, who's back in the Argo lineup since getting hurt on a block punt in Winnipeg back in week 7. And a good return after only a 30-yard punt by Steph Logan. So better field position for Johnny Manziel in the Alouette offense. 2 and out in drive 1. Second possession coming up here in the CFL on TSN for Montreal. You could argue Johnny Manziel continues to make modest improvements as a quarterback in the CFL. Best completion percentage for what it's worth in a loss last week when he went 23 for for 30, Dwayne, for 220 yards, that also had a touchdown pass and a pick.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing a combination of factors at play for Johnny Manziel as he sort of takes these baby steps forward every week, as he gets a little bit more familiar with his team, with his receivers, with the offensive scheme, with CFL defenses, and his coaching staff gets more familiar with him and his strengths.
Handing off
in the best position to be successful.
Handing off to Lawrence Pittman there to getting it up across midfield. You're right. I mean, part of the story at the end of that game was, and you worked that game at BMO Field, was being replaced by Antonio Pipkin for the Hail Mary at the end.
Yeah, and a big topic of discussion obviously surrounding that final play. Head coach Mike Sherman suggesting wanted fresh legs and perhaps a stronger arm to throw that ball at the end.
Gain of 5 by Pittman. William Stanback had a pretty big day last week at BMO in that losing cause, and a good gain and a first down for the Alouettes. Stanback had a 72-yard carry, 118 total in that one in Toronto last week.
I love this run by William Stanback. Nice job by the offensive line getting up to the second level, and Stanback finishes by dropping the shoulder.
Mantel throwing and first down. Wide open receiver there, Eugene Lewis, who had the touchdown catch for the Alouettes last time. Manziel finding some blank space there, and Lewis on the catch.
Yeah, Lewis working out of that cluster towards the top of your screen. Right down the hash mark.
Alouettes in business. On first down to Stanback, inside the 10, down towards the 5. And close to first down yardage again for Montreal.
Well, we'll take a quick look at this Toronto Argonaut defense. Frank Beltre in at defensive end. A couple of sacks for him on the season. Alden Darby playing the nickel linebacker spot. Spent much of last season as a corner. Newcomer Anthony Covington gets a start on the back end. He's corner position.
Third game in the Argos for Covington, the free agent signing back in May. Looking right near the goal line for George Johnson. That's broken up by Marcus Roberson. So it'll be third down and short, a couple of yards shy.
I thought Manziel had two guys coming underneath here. Johnson is the outside of those. I thought he might take the inside receiver, Eugene Lewis, on his under. Looked like he might have had a little bit better position on his guy than did Johnson. A little tug with the left hand there, you can see from Roberson on the back of the jersey.
So a chip shot for Boris Beatty at 13 yards to put Montreal on the board first. And that snap bobbled, but it is put down by Matthew Schultz in time for Beatty to get it through. And a 3-0 lead for the Alouettes. Impressive drive for Manziel in Montreal. James Franklin back on the field for the Argos here in Montreal. We'll be back. The CFL on TSN is brought to you by the Nissan Titan, official vehicle of the Canadian Football League. John Bowman, one of the legends of the Alouettes, one of the greatest defensive ends in league history. 98% sure, Dwayne, that this is it, in which case this would be his final game in Montreal.
Yeah, with John Bowman, you never know.
Never quite sure. Franklin on first down and under pressure and gets away. And Franklin takes off, and a good gain on first down for the Argo quarterback. It'll be second and short.
Take a look at the Alouettes starting defense. We mentioned John Bowman. Perhaps, we've been down this road before, playing his final game here at Percival Molson Stadium. Chip Cox insisted to Davis Sanchez before this game it will not be his last home game here. On the back end, Tavon Campbell is at the field corner. He had a pick six in last week's meeting between these two teams.
Heard Chesney in the studio beforehand. Fond memories of calling those guys teammates, Cox and Bowman. Miles White on that second and short, enough for a first down and a little bit more for the Argonaut receiver White from Franklin up near the Argo 50.
Now James Franklin, the winning quarterback in this matchup last week, added 2 more rushing touchdowns to his total in pursuit of Doug Flutie's record.
Back to live action here. That's intended for White, and that one falls incomplete. But Red Franklin kept scoring those touchdowns even after being benched in favor of McLeod Bethel-Thompson. And 14 tying Doug Flutie, another guy who wore 2 in double blue for a little while, a couple of memorable seasons back in the 90s. But tying him for most rushing touchdowns in a single season right now at 14. And one ahead of a quarterback that he backed up in Edmonton, Mike Riley. First down, Argos. They're 48, down by 3 early in this game. Over the middle, Armani Edwards with a brilliant catch on that pass. The Alouettes think it hit the ground, and they're moving up quickly to get this play off.
A diving effort here against former teammate TJ Heath. It looked like the first 2 defenders in. Heath, Brandon Dozier assumed that ball had hit the turf, and I think they may have assumed correctly as the challenge flag is thrown from the Alouette bench.
Initially thought he caught it, then you see it bobbled, and you can see Toronto understandably hustling up to try to get the play off, but Mike Sherman early in this game throwing out his challenge flag, and based on that view of the replay we got, it looks like Sherman will challenge successfully here.
Montreal's challenging the previous play, believing that the ball hit the ground and should be an incomplete pass. This will be reviewed.
From Al Bradbury, working his second game of the weekend, waiting for this, and it looks like it will be a successful challenge.
Although without lane use, there may be no goal.
True enough.
After review, the ruling on the field has been overturned to an incomplete pass. Will be 3rd down at the 48-yard line going out.
Thus negating a 21-yard gain, James Franklin to Armani Edwards. So, yes, a worthwhile challenge for Mike Sherman and the Alouettes, and as a result, Ronnie Pepper will be standing back inside his 35 to punt this football away. Last punt was 30, and a flag comes out as Pepper is slow getting up. Ronnie Pepper got hurt in Winnipeg back in week 7 on a block punt, and
yeah, the Alouettes had the rush on, took out Pepper's
kicker,
legs.
Montreal, number 30. There's a 10-yard penalty, which would result in a 1st down.
Ty Cranston coming in and getting under the legs of Ronnie Pepper, who did get off the field on his own, although was slow getting up on that punt. So the Argos do benefit.
Ironically, the Argos in similar territory where the Armani Edwards catch, non-catch would have put them.
So the drive continues after the penalty on the Pepper punt. Franklin flushed out. Right side, coverage is great by Tavon Campbell, who had an interception for a touchdown of Franklin last week in Toronto.
Edwards along the sidelines. You're going to see as Franklin starts scrambling his way. Initially, he starts to go upfield and then tries to break it back. Tavon Campbell did a terrific job staying with him on those couple of changes in direction.
So 2nd down. Franklin shouts out some instructions just inside Alouette territory now. 2nd and 10. Stepping up and taking off, but not nearly enough as he's pushed out of bounds by Glenn Love. So once again, a likely punting scenario, although the ball inside the 50-yard line now of the Alouettes. So Steph Logan back to receive this punt. Peffer seems fine. And a low driving punt this time, trying to hem him inside the 10, but it goes too far. But it will, or maybe not. No, it will put the Argos on the board as Logan looks to return it for a moment and then takes a knee. A rouge from Ronnie Peffer. Johnny Manziel back out to go to work. Not an easy first season in the CFL for Johnny Manziel. Not an easy week either. Let's go down to the sidelines and John Lou. John.
Well, thank you, Rod. And just prior to kickoff, the Alouettes announced that they had extended the contracts of quarterbacks Vernon Adams Jr. and Antonio Pipkin by 2 years and Jeff Matthews by 1 year. But the most important out of all their pivots, the man in this game, the man to whom they've hitched their wagon for the future, Johnny Manziel. There's been some question as to what would be his future beyond this season. Well, he's under contract for next season, and when we spoke to him yesterday, Manziel told TSN that he fully intends to honor the second year of his contract, be back here in Montreal, even if leagues from the South like the Alliance of American Football or the XFL came calling. Manziel said that he doesn't feel like either one of those leagues pique his curiosity at this stage of his career, that the CFL is more competitive, is more well established, and so that's where he wants to be next season. Guys?
Thank you, John. He has certainly said all the right things and being patient in this process. TJ Graham taking that one. And a late flag coming out with the Argos, and a little bad blood there on the sideline.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Toronto, number 28. 15 yards at the end of the play, automatic first down.
Right. With that penalty, Keith Jordan, that's going to cost him 15.
Yes, it will, and move them up to midfield right now after that carry by TJ Graham.
15 yards for being mean.
Last possession over 50 yards led to a field goal for Boris Beatty, a 3-1 lead. First down now. Right at midfield. William Stanback. Another good carry for Stanback, whose progress with the Alouettes, you have to think, certainly in part made Tyrell Sutton expendable as he went off to the BC Lions.
Yeah, Stanback is a guy who really established himself in training camp, not only as being a good ball carrier and good receiver, but also a very capable blocker, and learned his lessons well from Tyrell Sutton through the first part of this season. Stanback was one of the guys, despite the fact that it meant more playing time for him, one of those most upset to see Sutton go.
Had a great influence on him. And again, 5 yards, 2nd and 5. Alouettes on the move, and Argo territory. Manziel passing, and it falls incomplete as Adarius Bowman got turned around, and you can see a little frustration. Manziel snapping off the chin strap as he heads off to the sideline on this 3rd down Montreal.
Hey, let's go.
Keeping an eye on that conversation on the sidelines. Manziel talking to receivers coach Jason Tucker, along with Antonio Pipkin.
Boris Beatty, product of Laval. And after the 40-yard punt, ruling that Mario Alford had stepped out of bounds.
Make your getaway with intelligent all-wheel drive in the 2018 Nissan Qashqai.
Rod Smith, Wayne Ford, John Lou here in Montreal, where the Alouettes have hemmed the Argos deep down at the 10-yard line after the punt by Boris Beatty. Mario Alford back in the lineup. Injury to Will Likely, who normally handles the kick returns. And Anthony Covington replacing him in the field side corner in the Argo defense with Likely out. First down. Taking that handoff to Burns. Nicely done by Franklin, who takes off around the left side. some Argos wanting to see a flag here with that late hit. There is indeed a penalty against Montreal for that treatment of Franklin heading out of bounds. Greg Reed, the one riding him out.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness.
Franklin clearly on his way out as Reed delivered that shot. Franklin will pop up and shake it off and get back to the huddle.
Certainly not a delicate game, is it? On first down, Armani Edwards, little stiff arm and gets around for a gain of 5 on that first down.
Franklin just looks more composed, more confident here in this sort of second go-around as the Argos starting quarterback this season. He, of course, had first shot at the job when Ricky Ray got hurt.
Has 12 passing yards, 37 rushing yards so far. But yeah, he stepped in when Ricky Ray got hurt in week 2 against Calgary and got the next few starts. Next 4, actually. 2 against Edmonton and then 2 against Winnipeg, where he went 1-3 and then got benched in favor of McLeod Bethel Thompson. He's had 6 starts total, so this is his 3rd one since coming back, taking the spot of Bethel Thompson.
And I find myself wondering a little bit, too, watching James Franklin at this point, almost if the success that he had running the short yardage offense and, you know, scoring the touchdowns, it seemed to be a group that had great chemistry. You almost wonder if just the success in that much smaller role has put him in a better frame of mind here late in the season to take over the offense.
The Montreal 46, and that one completed to Levi Noel, and another good gain for the Argos on first down, so they're in scoring position now. Gain of 23 yards for Levi Noel.
You know, and I like the season that Levi Noel has put together quietly. You know, getting an opportunity to play with Anthony Coombs injured. He stepped into that offense, a guy who had established himself as a very good special teams player through his first couple years in the Canadian Football League, and it made some big plays on offense as well in limited opportunity. I think this is a young man that has really, in a rough season for the Argos, has done some positive things.
Gain of 23 from the Alouette 23, and an end zone look for S.J. Green, who nearly had it. It's Tommy Campbell with the coverage there, falling incomplete. Second down.
A good matchup here physically. Tommy Campbell, obviously a big corner working against a physical receiver in S.J. Green.
Campbell, who went to the Grey Cup in back-to-back years with the Calgary Stampeders' heartbreak in Ottawa last year against S.J. Green and the Argos in that Grey Cup game, and then moved on as a free agent to the Alouettes. And S.J. Green, of course, one of the, like Mark Trestman, who remembers some great days in Montreal. Most of his career with the Alouettes. He's now in his 12th season at age 33. 4,000 yards receiving.
Offside,
years.
Montreal, number 7. 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
His old teammate John Bowman called for the offside, but his best 2017, that 4th 1,000-yard season with the Argos last year, we had 1,462 yards. On second down, with time, and it's dropped by Duron Carter, another ex-Alouette, and the first throw to 89 in this game, taking full responsibility, as he certainly should on this, Dwayne.
We've seen Duron Carter make much more spectacular catches, certainly, in that an easy one, maybe thinking in terms of the run before securing the catch.
We did a game earlier this season, Duron Carter had a pick 6 playing in the secondary of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. What a season he has had. How different it has been And that is Drew Brown coming on for the field goal. He is 7 for 7 now in his young CFL career, and just his third game as an Argo. Well, Shaw Road to the Grey Cup continues next week with a final week of the regular season featuring a Friday night football matchup between the Argos and the Ottawa Red Blacks, who just clinched first in the East yesterday, plus a Saturday triple header as the teams, well, really the big one would have to be that Stampeders BC Lions game. Dwayne, who would have thought that Calgary still has not wrapped up first place in the West, and the Stampeders, well, Saskatchewan Roughriders who beat BC yesterday, kind of cheering for the Lions now.
Yeah. Calgary team that has rarely in the last several years even lost 2 in a row. What has to be considered a major skid for them.
William Stanback on the carry again. He's having a good first half so far. He had a good game last week in Toronto.
Yeah, he certainly did. 124 yards on just 12 touches. Stanback managed to get outside, contain a couple of times in the ground game, and demonstrated that in addition to the physical element of his running game, he brings some speed to the table as well.
4 carries, 36 yards for William Stanback in his first year. One of the notable rookies in the Canadian Football League this season. Lawrence Pittman this time. He's got a lot of ground to cover. Pittman across midfield and down to about the 42-yard line of the Argos. Gain of 28 yards for Pittman.
Well, keep an eye on the left side of this offensive line. Going to work to open things up. That's Tony Washington, Christian Matt. Create a big gap there with a couple of kick-out blocks. Pittman turns it north-south for a big game. And William Stanback playing decoy that time, cheering for his backfield partner.
Lawrence Pittman out of Wingate. Can you think of another Montreal Alouette who went to Wingate?
Well, the last one has turned out pretty well. One John Bowman.
Small school in North Carolina. And you're right, certainly produced one of the legends of the game. The great career of John Bowman, but Lawrence Pittman looking to follow suit. A good carry there to put the Alouettes down at the Argo 42. Injured player down for Toronto.
That's defensive halfback Tremaine Washington.
I thought we were changing every
Washington just got tangled up in the pile there, ended up underneath some bodies.
Think of all the changes to that Argonaut secondary since that Grey Cup a year ago. To the defense in general, really only 2 players left in that Argo defense in this game today from 1 year ago in the Grey Cup, and that's the tackles and Dylan Wynn and Cleon Lang. Of course, it's not just players departing, but a lot of injuries too. That's been the story of the Argos in 2018. Lots of taking that handoff, and then Manziel dumps it off to Stanback. Turns the corner, first down and more. William Stanback down the sideline, trips up as he heads into the end zone for an Alouettes touchdown.
Well, the Alouettes demonstrating that even with the trade of Tyrell Sutton, the running game is in very good hands with the combination of Stanback and Pittman. This time off play action to Pittman after the big run. It's Stanback in the flat. You see that speed we talked about down the sidelines for the major.
Big first half, Pittman. That's 4-play drive for 75 yards for 1 minute and 25. And another touchdown pass for Johnny Manziel. He had one last week in Toronto. As said, looking to continue his progress in the CFL, but impressive by the running backs on that drive mainly. The big run by Pittman before, and Stanback's had some big ones too. And on the receiving end, and lots of yards after the catch is Boris Beatty with a single-point conversion to make this a 10-4 ball game for the Alouettes. Couple of scoring drives for that Montreal offense. They've been looking good on this day. A cool one here. It was snowy earlier, settling in right now. From the CFL on TSN from McGill. A look at the first quarter numbers, and they favor the home side. Not bad by the Alouettes, Dwayne, so far in this game.
Well, the thing I like is playing to their strength, which quite honestly is the running game, led by Standback, getting contribution today from Lawrence Pittman as well. You know, Manziel as a quarterback who has very good mobility, I think is a guy who's going to have his greatest success when the running game is being used effectively, because they can then go play action, they can go bootleg, they can move Manziel around in the pocket. But in addition to that, if you can, with a quarterback new to the league, a young quarterback, if you've got that running game going and you're forcing the defense to defend that first, it's obviously going to help your pass protection a little bit as well and give him a little bit more time back there when he does go drop back.
Lots of communication. Manziel with his teammates there, and congrats on a good drive. I don't want to admit this, but I've been in the studio too long because I'm cold.
You getting a little soft?
I got to get ready for playoffs. Yeah, playoffs. Mary Alford on the return. And a flag comes out on that return too. Glenn Love in the mix on that coverage for Montreal.
During the return, holding, Toronto, number 42, 10-yard penalty, first down.
As announced by Al Bradbury, Toronto football to start this second quarter, and now down by 6, 10-4 after that touchdown drive capped off by William Standback. And the pass from Johnny Manziel, Franklin. He dumps it off to Levi Noel and gets it up across the 15 for the Argos. Set up second down.
Just a short gain there. He had a nice clear out in front of him from S.J. Green, creating a little space for Noel underneath.
And near the first down marker on that reception, it looks like it's going to be slightly shy. We'll see where the spot goes, though. Might be a generous one for S.J. Green and the Argos, and by the looks of things it is. And a first down for Toronto.
S.J. Green, number 2 receiver, working inside here. Just going to hook it up right around that first down marker. I think they might have been a little generous with that spot.
The Argos will take it, but they won't get much here. Not out of the woods yet on that short carry, so second and long now for Toronto. In fact, a loss of a yard.
Injured Argo defender on the play.
Look at the numbers of S.J. Green. I mentioned before, 4,000-yard seasons, 3 of them in Montreal, where he had some great years here, one last year. And he comes into this game, Dwayne, 969 yards, so he came in 31 yards shy of another 1,000-yard season.
Yeah, it's almost a little quieter year. Quieter 1,000-yard.
Just because of the kind of year it's been.
Yeah, I think the nature of it. And obviously last year, a lot of attention on S.J. Green as he was coming back from a serious injury as well, and people weren't sure really what they were going to get out of S.J. Green, and the results were somewhat spectacular.
Solomon Jr. Green, and remember those years with Anthony Calvillo. The Alouettes had a number of good, talented receivers. Brandon Burks, the injured Argo, getting some attention, including from Green there. Here's what happened. And he shakes it off and heads off to the sideline. So loss of a yard, 2nd and 11 for the Argos. Early in the second quarter, the final home game for the Montreal Alouettes, who conclude their season next week in Hamilton. The Argos will head to Ottawa. Disappointing seasons for both of these teams. Playing for pride, yes, but trying to improve nonetheless. This season winds down. Chip Cox, one of those veteran defenders with the Alouettes, along with John Bowman, and Cox is right there for the tackle on that reception, and a 3rd down. The Argos will be punting again.
And this is well played by Chip Cox. He's just going to look to keep the play in front of him. Keep that outside in leverage. He can let Armani Edwards make the catch, but he's not going to let him turn it into a big enough play to move the sticks.
So Ronnie Pepper standing back at his 12. Another short punt. Logan has it up at midfield. Exactly at midfield. After a 37-yard punt. Chip Cox, big defensive play to force the Argos to give it back to the Owls. We'll take over on offense when we come back. Find out who will take away the Kraft Heinz Project Play $250,000 grand prize. That's coming up at halftime of this game. Stick around for that announcement. And they're bundled up, but they are faithful and loyal, aren't they? In all sorts of styles of dress, costumes that you'll see this time of year. Yeah, Halloween's coming. Just a few days away now. Johnny Manziel after a touchdown drive, starting at midfield, and Eugene Lewis bounces off a tackle, and he's in business. Lewis, the leading receiver of the Alouettes, and gets it down to the 15. 39-yard gain, Montreal.
This is terrific concentration from Eugene Lewis. He starts off outside. You're going to see him work underneath. He knows he's going right into the teeth of that Toronto defense, but the concentration, knowing the hit is coming, braces himself, bounces off of it, turns it into a big play.
So could it be back-to-back trips to the end zone for Manziel and the Alouettes? With pressure coming, he gets it away and a flag is down. That's Adarius Bowman on the receiving end.
The penalty's going to go against the Alouettes here.
Holding Montreal, number 69. 10-yard penalty, remains 1st down.
Ty Rogers called in the hold, the right tackle, so that negates the gain by Adarius Bowman.
Keep an eye on the right tackle. Mr. Rogers. Nice execution on the left side. Recognition of the blitz by both quarterback and receiver to make the adjustment and the completion.
First and 20. Taking to stand back and right into the hands there of Adarius Bowman, but it does fall out incomplete. A little frustration there for the Owls.
And that one just got into the body on Adarius Bowman off the pads. The Alouettes have had a knack for the big play so far. The magic number is 22. They've had 4 plays of 22 yards or more so far.
And they're 2nd and 20, best they could do. And that one intended for Ernest Jackson is very well covered. Number 37, Anthony Covington, getting the start on the corner for the Argos, breaking that one up.
Well, not surprising that the throw comes up short. Watch Troy Davis on the twist all the way around, just levels Manziel. He's coming up in his face just as the ball is thrown. He came on a loop all the way around from that right end to the far side of the center.
The end game for any offense, a touchdown, but no, not this time, as Boris Beatty will stand back and attempt a 33-yard kick with Matthew Schultz holding, and right through the uprights is Beatty. So nonetheless, 3 more on the board for the Alouettes, who drive down again a little bit short for Ernest Jackson. Argos break it up, but they're down here in the first half. NFL on TSN continues this afternoon, featuring the undefeated Rams. They're 7-0, taking on the Green Bay Packers. Coverage begins at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific time on CTV2. Go to footballlives.here.com for a complete broadcast schedule. There's a former head coach of the Green Bay Packers from 2000 to 2005, Mike Sherman. A lot of time in the NFL. This, his first year as a head coach in the Canadian Football League. It has been a challenge. Looking to win the last couple of games, go out on a winning note, and it's winning so far, 13-4 in this game with James Franklin and the Argos back in possession, but that one for our Monty Edwards falls incomplete at the 50.
Argos still having a little trouble getting things untracked offensively. Trestman and his group. We talked about the turnover on defense, where Dylan Wynn and Cleon Lang are the only starters from last year's Grey Cup winner.
A game with 2 former NFL head coaches in Trestman and Sherman. Levi Noel across the 40 on that 2nd down and 10. Still shy of a first down. Although very, very close with the spot. So Noel gets it up about the 44 where they put it down. It is just 3rd and a couple of feet away as Mark Trestman sends the short yardage team in. Another version of the power eye. You got 4 stacked there, all spreading out with Franklin getting set what he does so well. Short yardage quarterback, and gets a lot more than short yardage as the student body just keeps moving down the field. And they get that one on when they needed a couple of feet. Gained 11 yards. You don't often see that on a 3rd down and short.
Yeah, a little bit of a variation. I think the Alouettes were anticipating it was going to be a standard sneak right up the middle, and when he took it off tackle, the Alouette defense wasn't really ready for it.
Chris Van Zyl, the veteran right tackle for the Argos, is down. A guy that's seen good times and bad in the double blue over the years. Grey Cup champion out of McMaster in both 2012 and last year as well. While they tend to him, we will take a break here at McGill. It's the Montreal Alouettes leading the way 13-4 in the 2nd quarter.
With TD Fraud.
Chris Van Zyl, injured at right tackle, so Ryan Bauman moves from right guard to right tackle, and J. Michael Dean's in this game. And this time going to the left, running left. First carry for Dexter McCluster for the Argos. And another first down for Toronto.
Interesting to see both these teams offensively using both their American backs in the offense at the same time, as Brandon Burks was one of the lead blockers for McCluster on that play. Buster, Mississippi product. Offensive coordinator his first couple of years there, in fact, with former CFL head coach Kent Austin.
Inside Al's territory. Franklin going to work for S.J. Green, who gets it inside the 40. And it'll be a 2nd and short for Franklin Green and the Argos.
Green does a nice job here, anticipating contact, just ducking underneath.
Working tempo on this 2nd down and 3. Throwing long, and good coverage again on Miles White by Tavon Campbell, who was right there to knock it away.
Well, Tavon Campbell came back to the Alouettes to take over that field corner spot when Miles White's twin brother Mitchell was injured earlier this season. Sure, Mitchell gave him very strict instructions not to let brother get the best of him today.
Yeah, we missed a chance to see the brothers going against each other, with Mitchell getting hurt earlier this year. Former Argo. It is blocked. Drew Brown's kick is blocked, and the Alouettes have it. And it's John Bowman with that ball. And a bit of a return, too. Momentum has clearly swung the Alouettes' way.
Try to see where the block came from here. Let's bring Ryan Brown in the middle. 6'5" defensive tackle, using his wingspan.
Is that Woody Barron?
Woody Barron. Woody Barron made it.
And it looked like Glenn Love might have had a chance at Barron not got his hand on it. Regardless, up at their 49 for Manziel and the Owls. Off that block field goal. Out to Eugene Lewis, who throws it for a touchdown to George Johnson. As the Alouettes open up the bag of tricks in a 61-yard TD, courtesy the arms of Manziel and then Lewis.
All going right for the throat. After the sudden change created by that turnover on the blocked field goal attempt by Woody Barron. Alouettes go for the big play. Manziel with the hitch screen, make sure that ball travels backwards to Lewis. It does. Lewis gets it out of his hands quickly to drop it into George Johnson. He's off to the races, a little help from Ernest Jackson.
Quickly passed by Eugene Lewis, with George Johnson, product of the Western Mustangs, getting into the end zone there from Montreal as they add to their lead on the Beatty conversion, making this a 20-4 football game in favor of the home side. All smiles Woody Barron, who got this thing started with the block field goal.
Some might call him the author of that play. And Drew Brown had kicked the ball very well for the Argos through his first couple of Canadian Football League games. He was a perfect 6 for 6 on field goal attempts, but you've got to believe that by the way the Alouettes set up for that block, that they maybe saw something a week ago that enabled them to execute that. And again, the small details on a play like that. Wide receiver option pass. They cut it close, but made sure that that ball traveled backwards on the pass from Manziel to Lewis, so that qualifies as a lateral, which allows them to still be able to throw the forward pass from Lewis to Johnson.
We had a close game for a while. These last two Alouettes possessions, everything has changed. A 16-point lead, 20-4. Big special teams play, big offensive play.
Squeeze it! Squeeze it, Jermaine! Go get it!
And Mario Alford on the return for Toronto. You saw Woody Barron a moment ago with a book. Let's go down and get a story from John Liu.
Well, thank you, Rod. And indeed, Woody Barron with the book. He is not just talented in football. He is now a published author with the help of his uncle. He has written a children's book based on the turkey mascot of the Virginia Tech Hokies, which is his alumnus. And then in conjunction with the school, Barron has written this book that is designed to encourage self-confidence in young people, in teenagers, but also one that addresses his own issues, as he puts it, with confidence. And so this is something that he has done just in time for American Thanksgiving. Very appropriate that the main character in this book is a turkey, guys.
Thank you, John. Very good. And might I say, a very good story, too, as Franklin takes off and has first down yardage up across the Argo 40.
Woody Barron is one of those guys who jumped out for the Montreal Alouettes during training camp as a young man they felt could be a very effective CFL player. He's been a starter week in, week out at that defensive tackle spot. Then another bright light in what's been a difficult season.
First down. Argo's down. Ball is down, but it is recovered there after being mishandled by Dexter McCluster. And maybe a gain of a foot at most for McCluster, but could have been a whole lot worse for the Double Blue. So second down and 9.
Too many in the formation. Toronto, 10-yard penalty. Remains second down.
Goes from bad to worse for the Argos now.
Yeah, a little miscommunication as they were changing personnel packages. The fullback, Declan Cross, had to dash out of the huddle at the last second as whoever came in for him apparently didn't communicate that.
Second and 19 after the penalty. Burks with the ball, but not with much yardage. And that'll be it for the Argo answer after the Montreal touchdown. The Alouettes should get the ball back again in pretty decent position here with under 5 minutes to go until halftime.
The Alouettes just gaining momentum on both sides of the ball, kind of feeding off each other here in the second quarter.
Ronnie Pepper. Steph Logan inside his 40. Picks up a block. Running back after a 40-yard punt, and all his running is backwards, and they make sure it stays that way with a good special teams tackle there by Robert Woodson.
Commentator Outdoor Clothing is brought to you by Nobis. This is Nobis.
Robert Woodson chasing the veteran Steph Logan as he was going further back, 14 yards back. So instead of up around the 40, back actually inside their 25. Good tackle there by Woodson.
University of Calgary star.
A football family. Taking that handoff. And completing a pass there. The guy that scored the touchdown before. All of a sudden, George Johnson's been a busy man.
Johnny Manziel stands in there. Keep an eye on Cameron Walker, 75 at the bottom of the screen. He was spying Manziel the whole way, recognizing that the quarterback may keep the ball and try and get out of the pocket. Manziel stays in there, takes the hit to make the completion.
William Stanback and taken down for nothing by Justin Tuggle, the middle linebacker. So second down. And the 3-minute warning is given. Montreal with the football and Montreal with the lead in their last home game of 2018.
No bones about it. Montreal moving the chains in their best, I've broken it, performance offensively of the season. Plus at halftime, break that down, and the Kraft Heinz Project Play winner. we'll have that big announcement coming up.
Thank you, DT. Hey, Dwayne, do you know who's leading our CFL fantasy pool at TSN?
Do I dare ask?
Well, it's the guy that does the most work and research and breaks down all those games. I mean, it's almost like Derek Taylor has an unfair advantage, but he works hard for it, and he's killing it. Although our director today, Franklin Rubenstein, has led through much of the season. We enjoy playing CFL fantasy. We have all year, and it's. I understand Franklin has William Stanback. I know somebody else who does. Got my picks in.
Might that person be in the booth with me today?
Might be. Although don't look to me for guidance because I'm way down the list. I'm not with the likes of DT and Franklin, believe me. And when I say Franklin, I'm talking about our director. Not with the likes of James Franklin either.
Good job, boys.
After a 38-yard punt, this is the previous play for the Alouettes.
Manziel heading to the sidelines at the conclusion of the Owls' last possession, looking pretty animated. It looked like he and Tony Washington had words there for a minute.
So some frustration after a very short drive on what has been a good first half overall for the Alouettes, who lead this 20-4.
Yeah.
Deron Carter on his receiving end for the first time today. Had a drop earlier in the half.
And I'm not convinced that...
Oh my goodness, we do have frustration in the Alouette sideline. Tony Washington, the left tackle, and Johnny Manziel having words.
I'm not sure that a little bit of passion in week 20 for a team that's out of the playoffs, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you don't want to see teammates starting to turn on each other if that is in fact what's happening over there.
Settling down now after the incompletion thrown by Franklin, so a 2nd and 10 for the Argos. But stranger still, Dwayne, to see it happening on a day when overall things have been looking pretty good for the home side. And that hasn't happened much this season, of course. Been a season of turmoil for the most part, a lot of change. Manziel and Washington were part of that. They were together in Hamilton at the start of the season. And a good tackle there by Enoch Mwamba on that 2nd down to force the Argos into a punting situation again.
Mwamba turning in a terrific season in the middle of that Montreal Alouette defense. Not a bad celebration either.
And the Alouettes haven't had as many chances to do so in 2018. A short punt for Logan. Up at the 35, a 35-yarder, and gets it up near the 40.
Found a lower price on tires?
Manziel and Washington will look to put their momentary differences aside and get pulling in the same direction.
They're back in the field now. 16-point lead. And under pressure, Manziel takes off. On the run. And weaving his way just up across the 45 as he is taken down there in a 2nd down for the Alouettes. Manziel 5 for 11, 124 yards and a touchdown pass.
Washington getting physical over there with Frank Beltre.
As mentioned, they started the season together in Hamilton, and they were part of the big trade to the Alouettes back in July. It saw Jamal Westerman, Chris Williams going the other way, Landon Rice coming this way for a while before he ended up getting released and going back to the Ticats. catch of the day. Ernest Jackson across midfield. First down, Montreal.
And you see Johnny Manziel looking animated, playing with that emotion. As once again we get a look at left tackle Tony Washington.
Working tempo. And Manziel takes off again and slides down inside the Argo 45. As we're under a minute to go until halftime, they're working quickly.
You know, to play the game with this level of emotion, I mean, to me, this is Johnny Manziel's style. This is in his wheelhouse, his comfort zone. You know, he's executed the offense well, but a guy who I truly think likes it when things maybe break down a little bit and he can go off script.
He slid just shy of the first down, so it's inside 45 at the 44-yard line and about a foot away, maybe 6 inches. His short yardage unit is in, and he takes a breather here. See if they can add to their lead. Under a minute to go. Once again, you can find out who will take away the Kraft Heinz Project Play $250,000 grand prize. James Duthie will have the announcement. That's coming up at the halftime of this game, and that is approaching shortly. It's at 57 seconds on the clock here at Percival Molson Stadium at McGill.
Yeah, Rod, I can't help thinking that you're the studio host all season.
Yeah.
You know, and there's this big announcement
There
coming
is.
up, and Duthie swoops in.
Well, DT takes over the hosting, and Duthie's in there too, and
unbelievable.
I understand they've been, you know, James told me they were working on a bit for the CFL awards, and hey, listen, you know, I got my chance to work with you. Give me that opportunity, and I took it.
Well, you belong with me, Rod.
I thank you very much. I don't know how Rod Black's going to feel about that. But is it in your contract, by the way, you work with Rod? Antonio Pipkin looking deep and just beyond the outstretched arms of TJ Graham. So Pipkin came in, and that was on a 2nd and short, so of course they had the down to spare to give it a shot.
I think the Argos were probably watching that Ottawa-Hamilton game yesterday. Ottawa completed a 55-yard touchdown pass. Great throw from Dominic Davis on 3rd and 1.
And now this time, just a keeper, I'm sure. Yes, it is, just to get that first down and sustain the drive. And Pipkin will head out. 40 seconds on the clock, and Manziel coming back into this ball game. As mentioned, this was topical last week at the very end when Mike Sherman chose to go with a bigger arm of Pipkin and a Hail Mary from close to midfield, and it didn't look like Manziel was too pleased about that. And he ended up being sacked, and the game was over anyway. Pipkin got his starts when Manziel got hurt in Ottawa much earlier this season, and he won 2 of his starts, 2 of Montreal's 3 wins with Pipkin. Their starting QB, Manziel, yet to win. As a starting quarterback, he's on the move again. We've seen some running from Johnny Manziel in this drive, and they're definitely in field goal range with 25 seconds to go on the clock. Gain of 20 yards, Manziel.
Manziel starting to get a little bit of that swagger going. He's enjoyed some success these last couple of weeks, particularly here today.
TJ Graham, intended receiver. Marcus Roberson's right with him. 2nd down.
Yeah, good effort there from Graham, but a tough catch with the defender Roberson leaning on him. Solid protection from the offensive line.
Time winding down. A good half. It could be better. 14 seconds to go. Field goal range, but running a play is Manziel, who throws it off to the sideline to George Johnson, who does get the catch inside the 20, but it's just not enough time left right now. Do you have enough to take a push for the end zone, or are you going to kick it? And actually, academic now, excuse me, because of the
sorry,
down.
I was just looking because I think there's a discussion. It looks like his right foot might have been out of bounds before he caught the ball. I'm not sure if it, from that angle, if he was on the line or just inside it. It looked like there was a discussion between the officials over there as well.
And excuse me, senior moment, of course, with it being third down, academic, with just a few seconds left on the clock. So Boris Beatty to put 3 more on the board for the Alouettes from short range. Indeed, he does. 3 seconds to go in the clock. And now it's a 23-4 lead. So more points. Manziel and the Alouettes offense, considering the kind of season it's been a good first half for them against these Argos in this one. And look at that. You see Manziel and Washington, more smiles there after that drive.
Yeah, things happen in the heat of the moment during games between teammates. It's like a family. It's all love. You move on. Get pulling in the same direction again.
The other one was a picture to burn. This one, something they appreciate more as we get set for halftime. Halftime in Montreal. The Alouettes in charge over the Argos. And it's time to find out who will take away the Kraft Heinz Project Play $250,000 grand prize. Let's go back to the studio and James Duthie.
All right, thank you, Rod, and hello, Canada. Thank you to all of you who participated in this year's Kraft Heinz Project Play program. We received an overwhelming number of nominations, and votes came in again from across the country over the 5-day voting period. Before the winner, let's take one more look at our top 4 finalists.
Pembroke Meadows, Alberta. Shaunavon, Saskatchewan. Belleville, Ontario. And Antigonish, Nova Scotia.
All right, here we go. One of those communities about to win a $250,000 facility upgrade. Let's find out who. Good luck to our top 4 communities. The winner of this year's Kraft Heinz Project Play grand prize is Belleville, Ontario. Congratulations to Belleville, Ontario, and their Field of Ability, our 2018 Kraft Heinz Project Play winner. Let's go to a live look in Belleville at the Empire Theatre.
Half in Montreal, the Alouettes with a sizable lead of 19 points and almost double the net yards. So a challenge in the second half for that Argonaut defense. Here's John Liu with Justin Tuggle.
Justin, through one half, quite a dramatically different result from what we saw last week between these two teams. Is this the case of the Alouettes perhaps taking preparation to their advantage based on what they faced last week against you?
You know, they came out, had a good half against us. You know, we didn't play the way we wanted to play, but there's a lot of game left, and we're excited for the opportunity. So let's see what happens this next half.
Not the best season, not a disappointing season for your team as a whole, but for the next 30 minutes, your game next week, what do you want to achieve first and foremost heading into the offseason?
I'm going to win this game. I'm not thinking about nothing else. We have 30 more minutes. We're going to find a way to win this game. That's all I'm worried about.
Thanks for this, Justin.
The Argo middle linebacker, Justin Tuggle. Team is down. They deferred to take the ball in the second half, and they'll receive. Deron Carter is back there. One of 2 return men for the Argos. A difficult season, a difficult day for Toronto, coming in with only 4 wins after winning the Grey Cup 1 year ago. And it's Alford on the return. Mario Alford taking it with a flag coming out as he gets it across the 25. And on comes James Franklin. 11 for 19, 84 yards. Did a lot of running. 62 yards on the ground for Franklin.
During the return, holding Toronto, number 75. First down, Toronto.
Cameron Walker called in the hold on that kick return for the Argos. Toronto's season will come to an end next week in Ottawa against the first-place Red Blacks, who clinched the division yesterday in Hamilton, so they have the bye to the East Final.
That stage completely set in the East. Unfolding in the late game with BC's loss. They'll be coming East to take on Hamilton in the semi.
The Ticats hosting the crossover game for the second time in 3 years. Levi Noel on the receiving end on that first down play. Field position's been an issue. Third time the Argos have started so deep in their territory as Franklin eludes pressure and steps up and then just throws it into the turf and smacks his hands together hard in frustration after that, because it's third down and they will be punting from deep in their territory. So a good first half for the Alouettes, and they will start this second half. They certainly should be starting it at midfield or better, with Steph Logan back at the 51 to take the punt from Pepper. And it's short again. He gets great position on this inside the Argo 35, taken out of bounds. So after a 33-yard punt, already the Alouettes in scoring position for Johnny Manziel to start this second half.
Yeah, looking to pick up right where he left off. Manziel, very strong first half for him, closed it out with a field goal, but had a touchdown pass to William Stanback off play action, used his legs a number of times to extend plays and extend drives. Alouettes got creative, had another touchdown pass, of course, from Eugene Lewis to George Johnson.
And Antonio Pipkin's in at quarterback for the Owls. So I'm not sure what the story is there. Lawrence Pittman taking that pass and getting it to about the 30-yard line. But we do not know why Manziel is not coming out for the second half.
Clear from the first play that they were not bringing out Pipkin to throw the Hail Mary.
So right now they're getting another look at Pipkin, who's had a few starts for the Alouettes this season. William Stanback had a big first half.
Both quarterbacks did get a lot of reps during the week of practice. So this is not a total shock, although didn't really see it coming based on the way the first half went at all. You might have thought they would want to stay with the hot hand in Manziel in this instance.
Well, my thinking is this, assuming he's not injured or anything, wouldn't you want to give him as many reps as possible?
Yeah, to me, logically, I mean, this is a guy you've invested in. This is your starting quarterback.
Stanback again, turns it back up and inside the 15 on that 1st and 10. And not knocking Pipkin, who had some productive games in a loss against Edmonton, then a couple of victories Pipkin had, played very well against the Argos. And that was a couple of months ago, and then followed that up with a victory in Ottawa. So Pipkin has said he's had his reps, and I guess Mike Sherman, we were to assume if Manziel is fine, you're right, we think just trying to give his other quarterback some reps late in the season.
These guys and get an evaluation, I suppose, going into the offseason as well.
So it's Pipkin. And a look inside the 5 for TJ Graham, and that's incomplete. It's third down, field goal situation. Boris Beatty coming out.
Well, this one gets chalked up as a win for the Argo defense, given the field position with which Montreal started this drive.
Discussion going on for the quarterbacks as the Owls appear in position to make this a 26-4 game. Another short one for Boris Beatty, who's been perfect on the day. Pumps it through. And just like that, the Owls in their first possession, left with great field position, get another field goal, and increase their lead. John Bowman, it is at his final game in Montreal.
It's amazing.
Product of Wingate University in North Carolina, coming into the Canadian Football League. And look what John Bowman has done in his remarkable career.
Yeah, Bowman has been a true gladiator during his time in Montreal.
125 sacks and 8th on the list. Grover Covington leading the way at 157, but he had said he's 98% sure that he's going to call it a career after this, leaving that window open just a slight bit. Some old John Bowman highlights.
Broke in 2006. Several years, he and Anwar Stewart were bookends on that Alouette defensive line.
That is going back.
Yeah, it took him a little while to, I guess, to rank enough to get his choice of number.
Tougher times this year. John Bowman remembers the good times too, the Grey Cup years, and overall feels very fortunate to have spent his career in Montreal.
I can truly say I'm grateful and I've been blessed, and I can walk away on my own terms. Now, I wasn't forced out, I wasn't injured, I wasn't told I wasn't good enough to play anymore. So if I can be blessed enough to make it through these last 2 games and my career ended, I have no quarrels with my games played or the stats I put up or the lifelong friends I've made. I'll be super blessed.
As mentioned, part of those years of his career, 5 of them, as you look at the sack breakdown versus team, and look at the team that leads the way, the rival Toronto Argonauts, and looking to add to that total today. This and 2nd and 5 for the Argos as the flags come out again.
Offside. Toronto, number 8, 5-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
I'm saying about Bowman, though, a lot of his great years came with Mark Trestman when he was here in Montreal for 5 very solid years, winning seasons, a couple of Grey Cups before Mark Trestman left the Alouettes to go to Chicago in the NFL.
And even now, as Trestman is the Argo head coach, those are 2 guys who have remained close and on the same page.
From the Argo 35 and taken down. We talked about sacks. Bowman arriving late. We'll give that one to Enoch Mwamba, who's out celebrating again with Franklin down, and the Argos forced to punt.
Well, we talked a lot about the Montreal offense today, but a strong performance delivered as well by the defense. Enoch Mwamba, as usual, leading the way for that group.
And John Bowman was right there, looking for 126 of his career, but that one is Enoch Mwamba's, and Ronnie Pepper inside his 15 to get this one away. Pepper back for the first time in 3 months after getting hurt in Winnipeg. Steph Logan goes one way after a 41-yard punt. Gets turned around. Heads out of bounds. John Bowman. What a career. The great number 7 for the Alouettes. Is this it? His final game at Molson Stadium. Habs on TSN continues Tuesday with a battle between the Stars and the Canadiens. Catch the action 7:30 Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Atlantic on TSN 2 in the Habs region, and on TSN 690. Montreal shutting out the Boston Bruins 3-0 last night, 6-2-2 in their first 10 games. There's John Bowman, one of the all-time great defensive players in the CFL, certainly in the history of the Alouettes. And he's apparently shy now, a little camera shy. Knew he would be a center of attention in the significance of this game, the last one of the season here in Montreal, and has said 98% sure in his words the last time that he'll be suiting it up will be next week against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, but that'll be on the road. Antonio Pipkin, the second half quarterback for the Alouettes, their first possession, getting great field position, already in field goal range, and they got that from Boris Beatty, extending their lead to 22 points. 26-4, all Montreal in this game. Looking for their fourth win of the season and looking to put an end to a 5-game losing streak. Pipkin, under pressure, gets away. Frank Beltray in pursuit. So he stands and he throws, and it goes incomplete on that second down. So punting situation, Montreal is, looks like Pipkin limping a little bit at first.
Well, you've got two quarterbacks in Manziel and Pipkin with some similarities to their skill sets in terms of having an ability to run. And Pipkin, certainly a bigger guy, maybe a more powerful runner, not quite as much of an elusive guy, but I think with both these guys, there are some opportunities to build in some called quarterback runs to the playbook.
Mario Alford going nowhere on that 48-yard punt by Boris Beatty, hemming the Argos in to start again here in the third quarter at McGill.
So many reasons to love winter. Go find yours. Let's go enjoy winter.
If you've ever wanted to stay in bed all day, we've got a great reason for you to do it. Hi, I'm Dan McKinley from Sleep Country here in our Innovation Center with a real game changer, our lifestyle adjustable bases. We know your bedroom has become central to your life. So with you in mind, we've created the largest lineup of lifestyle.
Oh, it is time for the Shaw Connection of the Game. Shaw, superfan and proud sponsor of the CFL.
Yes, sir. He's Johnny Manziel to Eugene Lewis to George Johnson for the touchdown. Little hitch and pitch. The wide receiver option pass, and he was throwing all the way. George Johnson goes 61 yards for an Alouette touchdown. The Shaw Connection to the game.
And that came right after they blocked a field goal try. Quite a turn of events for the Alouettes after the block by Woody Barron. So Levi Noel taking that pass, and a good gain here for the Argos. Big play Toronto across midfield and into Montreal territory for number 84, Levi Noel. Great yards after the catch.
And nice execution. Noel, is a slot, will sometimes get involved in the protection schemes, which allows them to get the screen game going with him. Nice kick out block by Ryan Bombin on the halfback TJ Heath to help open that run lane. Huge play from Levi Noel.
Just outside the Alouette 50, swinging it out. Taramonte Edwards, who had a big reception to start the game for the Argos that helped lead to a touchdown last week at BMO Field. And a good gain and a first down again for Toronto on the move.
Edwards a little slow to get up after being brought down with a crash at the end of that play.
The Alouette 34. Argos need a bunch. Down 22. Right back to Levi Noel. And gets close to first down yardage. A nice gain on first down. Trying to convert on that 2nd and 1, and that being short yardage. The Argos overall very poor production on second down in this game.
Through the first half, picked up just 17 yards on 15 second down plays.
But only needing a yard there and getting it, so the sticks move. The Argos faking it to Noel that time, and Franklin trying to take off. Woody Barron has him. Woody the author, as John Liu explained, writing children's books. Showed an example in the first half. Dexter McCluster inside the 20, down near the 10. And another first down, Toronto on the move here in this third quarter.
Now for a split second, it looked like there might have been room for McCluster, given his speed especially, to take it outside. You saw a couple of blockers leading out wide, but turns it north-south. Enough for the first down. Argos can still get a first down without scoring a touchdown here.
Right back to McCluster on the first down. Yeah, you're right, they could get another one, although it'd be just right, have to get it right down to the 1.
Close enough that you may as well just score.
Might as well. Almost goal-to-goal situation here now, really, on this second down and long. Threatening, though, and needing a touchdown. Good tackle there by Greg Reed. Wouldn't let him go any further. And so they'll likely, despite the score, be sending the field goal unit on. Or will they? No, let's see.
Well, Declan Cross, the fullback, has come in.
I guess they figure touchdown or bust at this point, isn't it?
Yeah. 3-score ball game, trailing by 22, and time ticking down here in the third quarter. I certainly understand this decision from Mark Trestman.
This is the 9th play of the drive, and the biggest one yet, because it's 3rd and 6 from the Alouettes 7, with the Argos trailing by 3 touchdowns. End zone or bust. Franklin looking end zone. Has a man, and it's a touchdown for Edwards. First major score for the Double Blue coming late in the third quarter.
Terrific twist and catch from Armonte Edwards here. Franklin steps up and throws this one with some authority, drops it in over top of the DB, Greg Reed. Edwards up, twists, makes the catch. Awareness of where he is on the field to get a foot down for the major.
Armonte Edwards, part of that receiving core. They got a Grey Cup ring last year. S.J. Green was there. But they, like their defense, undergone a lot of change from that victory over the Calgary Stampeders a year ago. So at 26-10 and going for 2. Franklin. Oh, nearly a beautiful catch. Not quite, though, for Duron Carter. So they put 6 on the board. They get to within 16. So, yes, a 2-score gain. Armonte Edwards. Touchdown, Toronto, here in Montreal. There's Armonte Edwards. A touchdown pass from James Franklin, so he catches it, and he gets them a little bit closer now, within 16 points on that touchdown. Mentioning him and S.J. Green, another big part of the receiving core. Devere Posey, remember the Grey Cup MVP, but he is among the departed from the Argos in 2018. That receiving core, that absence of Posey certainly was a factor earlier in this season. Steph Logan on the return for the Alouettes.
Found a lower price on tires? We'll match it, guaranteed.
.2:19 to go until three-quarter time here in Montreal, and the final home game for the Alouettes of 2018, second last game of the season, as it is for the Argos, who are on the road from here on out, going to Ottawa next week. And a 26-10 ball game. Antonio Pipkin remains the quarterback in the second half. It was Johnny Manziel in the first, and Mike Sherman giving reps to both of them. Manziel was 7 of 14 for 139 and a touchdown. Pipkin, a little pump fake, and a deep ball there, and an open receiver, but no. Darius Bowman, it's turned around a little bit, and it falls incomplete.
Yeah, and this ball looks like it's in a pretty good place. Darius Bowman, who's the man to the top of the screen, the lone receiver out there, trying to get him isolated with basically half the field to get open. Just had trouble tracking that ball.
Another number 19 receiver in this game. We talked a lot about S.J. Green, and remember when Bowman was at the top of the game with the Edmonton Eskimos a few years ago, well over 1,000 yards, and things have certainly slipped since then. Started the season with Winnipeg and then getting traded over to the Alouettes, trying to recapture that glory he had in Edmonton when he was a top receiver in the game, and on the run is Pipkin on that second down, but not enough for a first, and Montreal on to kick it away.
And you'll see Pipkin, as he gets going, recognizes he can't just slide if he wants to take a shot at that first down. Again, bigger quarterback, strong, powerful runner. He's willing to cut inside and stay up and try and get what he could, but Argos get the stop.
What I didn't know about
procedure, Montreal, number 36, 5-yard penalty, remains third down.
Paul Kozacek called on that procedure call. What I didn't know about Boris Beatty, we talk about him, we watched him in games for Laval, but before that, went to Tiffin University. So Tiffin well represented today with Antonio Pipkin, and then Beatty on to punt it away.
Yes, sir.
Did you know of Tiffin University before Antonio Pipkin?
Well, I did, and only because actually there have been a few Canadians over the years that have gone down to play at that Division II school in Ohio.
Shorter punt by Beatty this time. Alford takes it on a hop and gets pushed out of bounds after a 37-yard punt. Pushed out there by Ty Cranston.
James Franklin looking to go back-to-back here after leading the Argos on a touchdown drive. Culminated with that pass to the end zone, a third down gamble to Armonte Edwards. Looking to make this a one-score ball game. There's the third quarter, ticks down.
And Franklin getting all the reps in this game, and I'm sure he could use them too to get more accustomed to playing quarterback for the Toronto Argonauts. Brought in as a free agent who'd been backing up Mike Riley for a few seasons with the Edmonton Eskimos, and it was the contingency plan should Ricky Ray get hurt, which happened back in week 2 against the Calgary Stampeders, and Franklin suddenly was thrust into that job for Mark Trestman, lasting 4 games before the switch to McLeod Bethel Thompson, and now it looks like the rest of the way it is going to be James Franklin. And even at a game like this, and yes, these teams, Dwayne, aren't looking at playoff spots, but still good to have the reps and the work, and looking ahead to 2019 and looking ahead to the fourth quarter. It's a closer game, but it's still an Alouette game, 26-10 for Montreal. Through 3 quarters here at McGill, and the Alouettes still with a comfortable lead of 16 points, and the quarterback change as well with Antonio Pipkin in that third quarter. And the Argos getting a little bit closer with a touchdown to Armonte Edwards. But to follow up on that point, what's important, let's face it, for 2 teams that are playing a game that is meaningless in terms of the playoffs, but must have meaning in other ways?
Yeah, I think a big part of this obviously is about evaluation. You want to know where you stand going into the offseason. to really have a firm handle. I mean, you've got a head start of several weeks on other teams in terms of putting your plan together, and depending what moves you're looking to make, some of those things you can actually get going on through the month of November. So that evaluation, a part of it, and even just laying some groundwork in terms of attitude and so on that you want moving forward.
Miles White on the receiving end. His first catch of this second half from James Franklin. Following up on the point I was talking about, even for Franklin, we talked about Johnny Manziel's reps. What about how important are the reps for James Franklin the way the season has gone for him?
Yeah, I think it's a similar sort of thing. I mean, as much as so many people around the Canadian Football League had kind of anointed James Franklin as the next one, kind of the next star at the quarterback position when he was a backup in Edmonton.
And he certainly looked good when he got his opportunity with the Eskimos.
But I mean, the reality is, it was such a small sample size. And I think that there is a bright future for James Franklin in the Canadian Football League. But while he's been around the league for a few years now, the fact is he really still hasn't played a lot. It's not like he has a full season even under his belt as a starter. And so it's just continuing to get playing time, continuing to grow his confidence, see different defenses, familiarize himself with his receivers.
And he's not going anywhere there. Taking down Woody Barron involved, and so too is Ryan Brown in the sack for the Alouettes. One way I remember James Franklin this season is as a short yardage quarterback. I know he wants to be known for a lot more than that.
Get a look here at the work of the two rookie defensive tackles for the Alouettes, Barron and Brown.
Looks like a strike. He knocked the most important pin down, though, didn't he? Number 2 in white and blue. And flags are down again. This happened to the Argos a few times.
Toronto, number 54, 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
Chris Van Zyl. They get flagged before they get the play even started. 5 yards further back. And a 2nd and 23 now, factoring that penalty in the sack. Mark Trestman, so fondly remembered here in Montreal. 5 very good years, great years as the head coach of the Alouettes, coming back into the CFL. And down he goes again, and look who gets the sack. Career sack number 126 for the Alouette legend, John Bowman.
Well, let's watch the veteran, John Bowman, go to work. Leverage got low on Chris Van Zyl. Good use of the hands to keep the O-lineman from getting a grip. And he's done that 125 times before.
And if this is it for his playing days in Montreal, it is a nice way to go out, getting a sack with the Alouettes leading. Forget the sack. They're going over Woody Barron's children's book right now. Down goes Franklin. Courtesy, John Bowman. By the way, was Woody Barron the artist for that book? Hey, you think you know football? Well, have a listen to the 6-year-old girl at the Argo game last week. She's the daughter of the offensive coordinator, Ben Grant of the Lorne Park Spartans. And she's quite an Argo fan. And want to test her football knowledge? Have a listen.
Trips left. King, shotgun, it's a 43, corners off, it's a cover 3 cloud.
What's that called sometimes?
Cool.
Wow. Sign her up.
Well, now I'm going to tell you, I'm coaching high school football this year, Port Credit Secondary School.
Which is a rival of Lorne Park, by the way.
Well, yeah, we're playing in different tiers. Now, Lorne Park's a big-time football school, us not so much. Got our first win of the season last week, so congratulations to the boys. But I can't send my players in with plays that are longer than like 3 words because they forget them by the time they get to the huddle. So that's pretty impressive.
Ben Grant's daughter, boy, she is impressive. Identifying the defense too. Antonio Pipkin having trouble with the defense of the Argos right now on that first down play. But I love the way you could see her looking and studying.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, she was not making it up. She's saying what she sees. She's going to be a good quarterback one day.
Yeah. That was, I believe, sent out on social media and got a lot of attention. Second and 7. Pipkin at quarterback for the Alouettes, as he's been all second half. And they're coming. And he's completing it. Another catch for Ernest Jackson with Sean Harrington getting close to Pipkin before he got it away.
Nice spin and escape there. Little Pipkin.
But still about a yard shy for Ernest Jackson of that first down. So still a punt coming up here for Boris Beatty. Ernest Jackson coming to the conclusion of his second year as an Alouette. And Deron Carter, the lone man back for this punt return for Toronto. Chased inside his 25. Gets a block. And taken down after only a couple of yards after a 43-yard punt by Boris Beatty. Carter and the Argos going back to work on offense, now down by 16. We were very saddened to learn of the passing of former CFL coach Rod Rust. Earlier this week, Rod Rust passing away at the age of 90. He was a head coach with the Montreal Alouettes back in 2001. He was also an assistant. Marv Levy brought him into the Alouettes back in the early 70s, a dominant defense back then, winning a Grey Cup in 1974. He also coached extensively in the NFL, including head coach of the New England Patriots. Rod Rust passing away at the age of 90. There was a tribute earlier here at Molson Stadium to the former Alouettes head coach. One Davis Sanchez back in the studio, played for Rod Rust back in the 2001 season. Ches, your memories of Rod Rust, the coach?
Yeah, you know what? Rod was a real teacher of the game. Coach Rust, I was fortunate to have him as a rookie, and he had been in football for 40+ years at that time. And Rod I used to sit in his office. I was kind of like a project for Coach Rust as a rookie. And I would come in there way after meetings and after everyone had gone home, and I would sit with Coach, and he would talk football with me for hours. And he taught me how to not learn what I was going to do on a particular coverage, guys, but what everyone else around you is doing, and the concept of what you're giving away in the coverage, what you take away, what your weaknesses are, what everyone else around you is doing. And that was kind of how he taught the game. And it was, for me, really helped me as I got old and couldn't run and play anymore. I still was able to, lean back on some of the things conceptually that Coach Rust taught me to help me cheat and get through. But he was a great football man, no doubt about it.
Well, I mentioned the 2001 season when he was head coach, but yeah, you referred to it because I believe your rookie year was 99, right?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. We all need someone to believe in us, and for me, that was Coach Rust in my rookie years. As you both know very well, I was a bit brash, still am, but Coach Rust really took as a guy who'd been around the game a lot, he enjoyed trying to tame me and help me. And some of the vets in that team, you guys know, and CFL fans know well, Mark Washington, the defensive coordinator in BC, Barry Miles, the Hall of Famer, Lester Smith and Irv Smith. These guys are some great CFL players. And Rod Rust, basically, they were fed up with me and me not knowing as a rookie you're supposed to be seen, not heard. And they kind of were getting fed up with me. And Rod told them, guys, this guy's a rookie Canadian playing corner. You better figure out and learning how to deal with this kid, because the reality is he's going to be here for a long time, and you guys might not be, so figure it out. So he believed in me, and I got a lot of love for Coach Rust, and he'll be greatly missed. He was a great football man.
Really nice recollection of a former coach of yours, Ches. David Sanchez with the Alouettes, starting in 1999 when Rod Rust was a defensive coordinator and later became head coach, and as mentioned, sadly passing away earlier this week. 9:16 on the clock here in the fourth quarter. Antonio Pipkin back on with the Alouettes offense.
Who's best?
Molson Canadian Leafs hockey continues Thursday with a clash between the Leafs and the Stars. Coverage beginning at 6:30 Eastern on TSN 4 in the Leafs region, in 4K, and on TSN 1050. Toronto winning last night over the Winnipeg Jets again to improve to 8-3, and that's despite the injury, a left shoulder injury to Austin Matthews. As for the Toronto Argonauts, losing in Montreal right now, and the final meeting of the season between these two. It's the final home game for the Owls. They each have one game to go after this. A handoff to William Stanback. Not as busy in this second half. Very busy in the first half, both as a running back and a receiver, as a receiving touchdown in this game. Stanback 59 yards on the ground, and that touchdown, a 42-yarder from Johnny Manziel.
We talked about the Montreal Alouettes making a few changes on the offensive side of the ball, getting a look at some different personnel, seeing the Argos doing the same on defense. We saw Sean Harrington in earlier, draft pick out of Michigan State. Nelkas Cuomo, another rookie out of Queens, in at linebacker right now.
Darius Bowman with the catch from Pipkin up across the 50. Speaking of, we'll have a look at this pass.
Right down the hash mark. Darius Bowman working against zone. Sits it down. Quick hitter from Pipkin to move the sticks.
Looking to set up the screen, but he can't. Stanback's the nearest receiver there, but that heads into the turf on that. Now second down.
Yeah, the Argos had sniffed that out. Jeff Knox Jr. was right in the back pocket of William Stanback as they tried to set things up.
Second down, and not quite enough for a first down for Montreal, but does get quite close to within about a yard at the Toronto 50.
Oh, Pipkin on the scramble. Ends up running into his right tackle, Natai Rogers here. He first turns it up.
And then he knocked Rogers down there.
You get a bit of a feel for how strong Pipkin is on his feet.
Might be the first time I've seen a quarterback knock a tackle over it. Unusual circumstances, though, to be sure, with Rogers looking the other way, trying to protect him. Beatty back in the third down and short. And punting it away with Ron Carter catching it right at the boundary and stepped on the white line, so no return at all. Let's go back down to the sidelines at John Lou.
Well, thank you, Rod, and we've spoken at length today about how this might be John Bowman's last Alouettes home game, but you could say the same thing potentially for Luc Desjardins and Steph Logan, and so by no coincidence, all three of those men, prior to the Alouettes' first meeting yesterday morning, addressed their teammates, and basically the gist of their message was one of appreciation. Thanks for their camaraderie, their commitment throughout this entire season, despite the fact that the Alouettes will be missing the playoffs for a fourth straight year. And they also went on to say to the younger teammates, keep their heads up, look forward to a more hopeful 2019. And so if that was passing the torch, you could sort of take it as that, because one, two, or all three of those venerable veterans might not be back next year, guys.
thank you, John. Yeah, something to think about and get sentimental if you have any endearment for the Montreal Alouettes over the last few years. Steph Logan, a tremendous return man. He was, of course, with the BC Lions before and had some time in the NFL coming back, but one of the great return men that the Alouettes have had.
Luc Brodeur-Jourdain, a late pick back in the 2008 draft. He was the last player selected, in fact, and in a couple of years rose to becoming a starter.
And Franklin is taken down and coughs up the football, and look who has it.
Oh, how fitting.
Last game in Montreal in this brilliant career, and not only does John Bowman get a sack, John Bowman gets a touchdown.
Lots of big plays over the course of John Bowman's great career, but as you can see, that ball's going to be a keeper. It's John Bowman.
There you go.
Well, if this is goodbye, what a way to say it for John Bowman. The spotlight is on number 7, Montreal. For that touchdown to put the Owls up with this pending conversion by Beattie by 23 points, 33-10.
Can you read us the story, please? The next breakdown story.
And they're still fascinated by Woody Barron's book, too.
Little story time over there. Ryan Brown. Brown is lined up on the nose. Clearly a breakdown in the protection, as even if setting up a screen, nobody touched him. Coming off the line, he's clean for the sack, and John Bowman gets a going-away gift.
And despite the season they've had, as frustrating as it's been, a nice gift it is for John Bowman. Steph Logan, another one John Lou talked about. Could this be it for him? But all smiles to see his teammate get to enjoy that moment. Now, he did say 98%. Are you buying that 2%?
Never say never.
Never. I guess that's his point. Muriel Alford inside his 5. It's a pretty long highlight reel for John Bowman.
Hey, we're both.
But not this kind of highlight.
It's good. He's got the young guys like Ryan Brown trained to do the heavy lifting for him now. You know, Brown with the sack and the forced fumble. You know, you just come in a little bit later and get the glory.
Take care of the old man, Ryan.
Took him all these years, 13 years to figure it out.
Bowman doesn't play like an old man, though. You know, in an earlier day, this is what he did in his career, and this is what he enjoyed when the Montreal Alouettes were on top of the CFL. Against Saskatchewan in back-to-back years, in Calgary in 2009 and in Edmonton in 2010. The Montreal Alouettes were victorious. Very close games, but on the winning side, and yeah, he got to do that. That's the ultimate prize. Bigger than that football that he just got to keep, to be sure, but still. This is a nice way to go out. Pressure again after the touchdown, and the Argos starting off, and James Franklin doesn't go down. And talk about Bowman, there's another great veteran, one of the all-time great Alouette defenders, in Chip Cox.
Yes, sir, Chip Cox. Suggesting he's not ready to hang him up yet. Those two guys that have been in that defensive huddle together, played so many games together over the years. Cox coming from the top of your screen. There's fights through the block of Brandon Burks to wrap up James Franklin.
Punt by Ronnie Peffer. Sailing out of bounds around midfield. A 29-yard punt. Tangerine Raptors basketball continues tomorrow night as the Toronto Raptors, on fire to start the season, go up against the Milwaukee Bucks, who are also off to a very good start. Coverage beginning at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. That'll be on TSN2.
Battle of the unbeatens.
Battle of the unbeatens. Raptors off to the 6-0, their best start ever. The difference, as great as DeMar DeRozan is and was for the Raptors, Kawhi Leonard has really made a statement.
Well, that'll be a fun one to watch. Leonard versus Antetokounmpo.
Just say Greek Freak.
Yes.
Much easier. Starting in Argo territory is Montreal. Lawrence Pittman. And taken down by Matt Webster, but not before a gain of 6-7 yards for the Alouettes. Three minutes on the clock. Alouettes looking to end a losing streak, and they're in charge, up by 23. The Nissan Titan Player of the Game is brought to you by the Nissan Titan, official vehicle of the CFL.
Yeah, today's Nissan Titan Player of the Game is a guy who's become kind of the tone setter for the Montreal Alouettes. Offensively at running back, William Stanback. 10 touches, 60 rushing yards, 42 receiving yards, 102 yards from scrimmage, and a touchdown. For the Alouette running back, William Stanback is today's Nissan Titan Player of the Game.
Well, the Owls right from the get-go took it to the Argos on the ground. 74 rushing yards between Stanback and Lawrence Pittman in the first quarter alone to help dictate the tone of this game. And there's Pittman getting his turn. And shorter gain on 2nd and 6, and not enough. Not quite enough. But Pittman, when they dealt away Tyrell Sutton, who, as you know, had so many good years as a running back with the Alouettes, it'd make you scratch your head if not for the fact that they had number 31 waiting in the wings.
Yeah, and Stanback certainly had begun to establish himself as a legit CFL back by the time that deal was made. Even in Tyrell Sutton's own words to Stanback, told him, "You're ready for this opportunity."
And he's embraced it, especially today. Our Nissan Titan Player of the Game we declare with a couple of minutes, 2.5 to go. And all Montreal and keeping it in short yardage here. They needed a couple of feet, and this will be close. Pipkin keeping it.
The way things have gone today, gotta believe we'll see a little bit more of this duo of Stanback and Pittman going forward and into 2019.
And probably more of it, I'm sure, next week against the Red Blacks in Ottawa. So that is a first down for the Alouettes. They keep moving and just trying to kill the clock now, down to about 2 minutes to go in this ball game. The last one for the Alouettes here in 2018, unveiling a new uniform, a new look next year is Montreal. And a nice catch by Ernest Jackson, using those hands inside the 30. Another first down, Montreal. And they are hoping, they are looking ahead at brighter things, Wayne. The Alouettes.
Well, it has been a lot of change, not just over the last year, but really over the last couple of years, as they're working towards finding just the right combination. There are a lot of good building blocks in place. It's still certainly a lot of work to be done in the assembly of this team.
Counting on it in 2019. And we've seen some impressive newcomers, like that man as well, Lawrence Pittman. Having a good day as well.
Yeah, when you look at some of their younger guys, I mean, we've talked about the running backs. You look at a guy like Eugene Lewis, really has come into his own this year as a receiver. You hope maybe you have a healthy BJ Cunningham back next year.
There have been questions about the direction of the Alouettes, and there are questions right now about the future of the Argos as well, that have gone from Grey Cup champions to missing the playoffs in just 1 year, a difficult year for Mark Trestman and Toronto on the field. For Mark Trestman personally as well, a very difficult season it has been, and looking to make some changes and get back to where they were and then some next year. Be curious to see what changes are in order. And, you know, they're not the only team that can say it, of course, but they were certainly hit with a rash of injuries, going back to Ricky Ray in week 2.
Yeah, injuries, and I mean a lot of the losses occurred during the off season, and you know, I mean, some guys that weren't really replaced.
Does it again. Touchdown, Alouettes. And our player of the game is padding his numbers.
Update the numbers. Keep an eye, though, on the work of Ernest Jackson out of the slot. Stand back. He's lined up in that full set, working across the formation. Ernest Jackson comes back with a great block to slow the pursuit of Stanback and help his running back get into the end zone.
So another touchdown for Stanback, and 3 Alouettes have thrown touchdown passes today. We got Manziel. We just had Pipkin there. There's your trivia question. For those that didn't watch the entire game, Eugene Lewis, the receiver, on a hitch and pitch, threw one to George Johnson in the first half too. So,
you know, and as you talk about the sort of the young building blocks of the Montreal Alouettes, you know, certainly you look at the quarterback position, you think not just Johnny Manziel, but Antonio Pipkin. You've got a couple of young guys that you kind of say maybe they've got a chance in this league.
Manziel and Pipkin, not Lewis though, right? I think they need him for something else.
That's right.
Well, it's been the Stanback show. Good, solid first half for Johnny Manziel, and some notable highlights for John Bowman on the other side of the football. But 31 Alouettes is certainly having his day. With just seconds on the clock now, and a 40-10 rout for the Alouettes over the Toronto Argonauts. This will end the 5-game losing streak, and this will give them their 4th win of the season. And that's against 13 losses, wrapping it up next week in Hamilton. Lawrence. Brandon Burks on the kick return.
Oh, Nick Boulay, number 52. Monster hit. Argos had the wedge set up there, and it was a case where Declan Cross looked like he thought somebody else was going to be there to take Boulay.
Dexter McCluster, the ball carrier for the Argos, with just a play or 2 left in this ball game. And so ends week 20. Well, the Shaw Road to the Grey Cup will continue next week. Final week of the regular season, week 21, featuring a Friday night football matchup between the Argos and the Red Blacks, and a Saturday triple header. You got the Bombers, Eskimos, Owls, Ticats, and the big one really, what's undecided first place in the West. The Stampeders need to beat the BC Lions to clinch first place. If not, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Who'd have thought a couple of months ago they'd be in the running for the top of the division, but yes, they are. Another impressive win this weekend. And McCluster, the ball carrier again. Well, a lost season, but a winning day for the Montreal Alouettes, and at least some encouragement from what they've seen today.
Yeah, certainly for a team that's had to scratch and claw for everything, a very convincing win for them today. Good play from both quarterbacks that took part for them. Some big plays from some of their young players, and something perhaps to look forward to in 2019 for Alouettes fans.
Johnny Manziel in the first half. A lot of Williams stand-back all game, and great work by the defense, too, including John Bowman. His final day at Montreal, it would seem, gets a sack, and he gets a touchdown, too. Thank you for watching the CFL on TSN from Montreal. SportsCenter is next.